I really don't know how to follow up on our last conversation. Maybe that's unsurprising, but I just don't. I've rewritten the episode, revised my revisions, made point form notes. Socrates, you seem to be subtly breaking character. You've put your sharp elbow directly through the fourth wall. Maybe you want to retrieve it now that you've shattered the glass. Yes, of course. What I meant to say was that I, Socrates, have endured many troubled thoughts in my Grecian mind ever since our previous... All right, that'll do. Good save. Here, have a plum if you like. Don't joke if you don't have plums, Alcibiades. Well, I've moved on. I've simply been thinking of other things, mostly. Such as? Bach, of course. I suppose we should apologize for that. I don't see why. I've also been thinking about the limits of innovation in relation to form, the rhythmic structure of periodic melody, and of course, Frankenstein as a sommelier. I should have let you write the episode. Frankenstein. Yeah, it seems to me the strongest shorthand for your argument is in some ways your weakest play. You put it like this. You said, we don't all taste delicious ice cream and then decide whether to like it or not. You think it's a circular argument, maybe. It's not that. It's intuitive. It's strong. It implies that if someone doesn't like ice cream because to them it's, say, cloying and creamy, they're not rendering an unaccountably different preference, but registering a straightforward reaction to an experience that's simply different. Right. Who would like cloying and creamy? Get back to Frankenstein. Well, I buy your conclusion. We're not hearing the same music. But there's a lesser point of yours I'm less certain of. You say that there is no subsequent, thought-through aesthetic judgment. I want to disagree with that, at least in some cases. You suspect perhaps it's not so simple. I suspect not. Imagine Frankenstein, or rather, Dr. Frankenstein's monster. It's one of those points of confusion that persists, isn't it? Anyway, he, meaning the monster, gets a job as a sommelier. Good for him. Yeah. He's meant in his new role to tease out the nuanced and manifold qualities of every glass of wine, primary and secondary aromas and so forth. It's a good vintage, round, with a floral bouquet, perhaps a fruity finish, on and on like that. And? How does he do? The job's not a perfect fit, Socrates. He always seems to render the same judgment. Wine. Good. You're saying basically that experience is complex. It's complex, and complex enough to confuse us, especially when we attempt to reduce our complex experience to simple judgments. Socrates, you said that to like ice cream is to simply enjoy it. I can relate. I mean, I've had great food. The experience of tasting something so delicious that I was amazed at my amazement. Thought then seemed to vacate, and the direct enjoyment of the thing attested to its delights. How could I argue? Nor was my enjoyment, as you point out, a considered conclusion. Yet, I've also tasted what was, to me, refreshing, but perhaps too sweet, or sweet in a wrong way, difficult to describe. Subtle displeasures were in what pleased me. In such cases, instead of thought vacating, I was expelled from my own experience, pushed back into my own uncertain thoughts. Do I like this? Do I detest it? What is this that is so strangely unlikable in what I almost enjoy? You're arguing, I think, that my calling it delicious ice cream isn't so much circular as simplifying. Yes, but also that owing to the complexity of experience, there are cases of, if you like, mixed experience, and in such cases, a thought through and subsequent aesthetic judgment seems inevitable. There's something to work out. Okay, but any such thought through judgments might still be thought through in relation to simply different experience. That part of my argument seems undamaged. I agree. But it matters somehow to work all of this out. I've thought also, for example, that even our pleasures are unalike. We Greeks speak so vaguely of beauty, but the pleasures of Bach and the Bee Gees are not the same, nor Chopin. Pick the artists you like. Consider that what is most beautiful in each case is incomparably unique, and the beauty that pleases the eyes differs as well. Are there not many different aesthetics by which such pleasures come? Or again, if I sit for a 9-course meal at a Michelin-starred restaurant, the amazement I described earlier might steal my vocabulary. After each course, I might utter simply, delicious, or food good. Yes, exactly. But this would not mean that the partridge tasted like the sorbet. You've been thinking about this. Yeah. As I say, it seems somehow important to me, though I've not worked out why. It's also the case, of course, that we may have many experiences of insufficient strength to push us decisively in any direction. I neither like it nor hate it. There's something to all this. It seems to me what informs our judgment in direct experience differs so dramatically from the merely conceptual ideas we might form. Maybe that's what interests you. Or perhaps how what we could call a direct judgment informs an artistic choice. Although I suppose any serious conversation we might have on this topic would have to include art criticism as a profession. This also is a rendering of an aesthetic judgment, sometimes on long-form content. So many moments of nuanced complexity. A veritable river of wine. Life itself may be such long-form content, Socrates. Formal criticism is most often educated criticism, and decidedly thought through, isn't it? But there's something more than willful naivety or anti-intellectualism in what I so want to keep and aspire to refine. Your idea that the aesthetic judgment comes in or with the perception itself. That's important. It's inevitably personal, isn't it? And rather than appropriately objective, joyfully characteristic. It matters. Somehow we're not done yet. Yet why does it matter so? I can almost feel the cardboard edges of the puzzle pieces digging into my hands. I just can't quite put them together. Well, the poets labor in a strange way. They must wait for the lines as much as invent them. Maybe you labor in such a way, Alcibiades. If so, be patient with yourself in putting your ideas together. To have the pieces is already much. Hold them loosely for the moment, my friend. Poetry, philosophy, music. I wonder what we'll talk about next. Maybe one of your ideas was a good one. Which idea? Melody, Alcibiades. Melody.